How's it going, everyone? In this video, I want to talk a little bit about my trading setup. What I prioritize when I'm looking at charts. I day trade in the stock market, the US stock market. I'm looking at quick entries and exits, sometimes scalping, sometimes taking short positions. And I trade the first hour to 1.5 hours of the market open. And because I'm doing trades on a short-term basis, I want to be able to make decisions swiftly. And over the years, I've learned that my personality, I'm the type of person who prefers to have a really good idea of what the big picture is going on the intraday of the charts, as well as zooming out and going on the higher time frames. So over the years, I've been refining my trading setup. The problem really exists with trading setups either being too cluttery, not clearly giving you an indication of where the overall trend is for a stock or a position. At the same time, I see traders that prefer just looking at specific time frames only. They do their analysis before market open, but I like to have everything ready to go in front of me at any moment in time. And I'm trading on 2 screens at the moment. I found that this is the most helpful, it's the most minimalist style of trading that I can do, and I'd like to keep it this way. The platforms that I'm using here, as you can see, are 2 platforms. I use for my analysis and execution, I use Webull. This is the desktop version. And for execution, I use IBKR, or Interactive Brokers. I find that Interactive Brokers does really good with executions. I have it set up the way that I need it to be able to push buttons or look at the ladder. And be able to see, you know, my entries and average costs and what I'm paying for each position. And why I like Webull is because it's super clean. It's really customizable. That's something that's really important to me as well. To eliminate noise and not have so much clutter, I like to keep my charts very clean and very ordered in terms of sizing. So they have to be very closely sized together. They have to basically fit any type of screen that I'm trading on, whether it's a smaller laptop, a bigger laptop screen, if it's a tablet, or if it's a desktop, or even a TV screen, or one of those big monitors. I'm currently trading on a laptop and an external monitor because I just found that it keeps me more mobile. I had, you know, a bigger setup before, and it was great, but it's unnecessary, and I like to keep things very flexible so that in case I'm traveling, in case I'm elsewhere, aside from being home, I can basically set this up within a few minutes, and I'm very comfortable. In a past profession, I was you know, very comfortable with the big screen, having all of my equipment in a specific way, and it basically restricted me. So this time, when I started to learn trading and understanding how to trade effectively, a lot of it has to do with comfort levels and confidence in your trading setup, the patterns that you trade, your trading plan. I mean, it is affecting your psychology and how you execute. So I wanted to make sure that I was capable of doing this anywhere in the world, and I have found a setup that really works well for me. I'm going to briefly go over this. It's a general overview of what the setup is entailing and the different aspects, because what you see here are charts, and you see the portfolio tab of the simulation. I just wanted to demonstrate that, hey, look, this is my setup, and I was able to transfer my template over to the sim account so you can see exactly my template as best as possible. But before we go ahead, if you have any questions about my setup, you know, I don't consider myself like the best with all this technology, but I have some experience using it. I don't like to give advice on the nitty-gritty settings. I think we have ChatGPT AI to go through that, and that's a really important part about learning how to trade, is that you have to be self-sufficient. But if you have any questions about why I use a specific setting chart-wise, like why I use a specific time frame, why do I have the 1 hour on the right side, sort of like those general questions that can apply to almost any platform, please let me know in the comments below. But let's go into it. Very recently, I realized that the daily chart is something that I am very much focused on when it comes to trading. I found that it was a little smaller on my screen beforehand, but I decided to give it center stage, and I decided to make it something that stays on the left side, and then basically my viewing experience for how I analyze charts would be top down. So whether I'm preparing in the pre-market or I'm preparing while I see an opportunity arise or there's some sort of alert that gets triggered, I basically want to start with the daily at all times. Now, on my left side here, I have an external screen, which I haven't shared on this screen here, but basically I also have another daily there. I have a watch list of a few stocks that I'm looking at, but I can also go to the weekly chart, and I'm able to do the weekly chart here as well. But basically by seeing the daily chart, I can zoom in and I'm able to know, okay, what's the actual trend of the stock? Are we making higher lows, higher highs? Are we basically on an uptrend, on a downtrend? Are we consolidating? Just in the short term, to give me an idea that whatever position I take, if it's a bias that I have that it's going to go long or short, I can see the daily, and the daily really gives me a great indication of whether I have a higher likelihood of succeeding in the trade. And typically for me, I've ranged between 65% to an 80% win rate. And I typically go for 1 to 1.5 R as a profit factor for my trades. That's the ideal outcome for me because I'm scaling out. I'm also entering for a short-term time frame. And in other videos, I'll go over a little bit about how I execute and how I have sort of hacked some, ways of being able to make trading a little bit easier because it's incredibly hard. And there's a lot of things you can do to sort of get into easy mode when it comes to trading. So you can just focus on taking trades, letting a sequence of trades really play for your advantage. So the daily charts right here on the left, I just use simple charts. Candlesticks, 20 moving average. I do have the 200 simple moving average here and some volume at the bottom. But that's basically it. I can see also the levels that I have set up down to the dollar value. I can see my alerts, so it's super clean. I also get this area where I can see the opening, the high, the low, and the close. Just to give me an idea, how I trade is basically really analytical from a daily standpoint. Over here on these 4 boxes is where it gets really interesting. And of course, you see the time and sales, you see my watch list. I think that's super helpful without having to type in everything. I can just basically, click and boom, I'm on a different chart. So if I'm seeing something moving on my left screen here, and it's like, hey, Tesla's going about to hit the high day, and I really think it has a chance to go higher. It's hitting a whole number. Rather than have to type it in, I'm basically just using one hand and just switching screens whenever I need to. So the watch list is really helpful. Time and sales. I don't think I need level 2 and stuff. I don't use that because I'm very much focused in and honed in on seeing price and understanding how candlesticks form and how they behave, reading between the charts and really going into the detailed technical analysis from that standpoint. And I can go over another video in the future. But here's where things get really interesting. I trade based on the daily. I look also on the weekly and the monthly when I'm doing my pre-market analysis, kind of seeing where the whole trend is for the stock. But it's really on the intraday where I get to really refine and make swift decisions and have a lot of control over how I'm trading. So right here is a 2-minute chart. I prefer the 2-minute over the 1-minute. The 2-minute is great because it provides clean setups. Of course, this is not really clean. There's a lot of overlap here, but you get an idea of like, hey, this is starting to go up, it's starting to go down. It's above the moving average here on the 20. It's transitioning, but the 2-minute is really great. But because I like to trade the 2-minute, I have the 5-minute here, the 15-minute here, and the 1 hour. I felt that there was still an opportunity to add a few more layers to this setup, but as you can see, I didn't have much real estate, and like any screen, unless you have the really wide screens, even then you're basically having to like zoom in or maybe get a little closer to your screen. So I wanted to have a little bit of control of quickly making decisions. Okay, this is happening here on the 2-minute, but what's happening on the daily? So when I didn't have a large daily chart, you can actually switch the chart and actually have another chart here. You can set it up as like a weekly here. So whatever your preferences are, you can change them and have it ready to go, so that if you need a quick little overview of what the weekly is doing or the daily is doing, and you for some reason you want another one right here, you can just switch by having these tabs. And I don't think this is very common on other platforms. That's why I've narrowed down to currently to using Webull. To some, that have used other platforms. I've been on Thinkorswim before. I really liked it, but it didn't even have some of these features. I've used TradingView. What else have I used? Thinkorswim, TradingView. There's Moomoo as well. I have that platform, but I just use it as like a backup in case something happens with Webull that day. There's been other platforms that I've used, but Thinkorswim was probably the best. And as many traders out there continuously use Thinkorswim, it's very active. But ever since this whole Charles Schwab sort of takeover, it just prevented me from being able to use it effectively. And so what I decided to do, because it completely exited the market where I'm from originally, so I decided to find other options, and Webull was something that was just starting back in the day. I always had my mind that, hey, I'll use Webull as a backup. At the time I was using it as a mobile, but I digress. So having your platform be available for you for different customization settings is really, really important for me. And so I use a 2-minute right here. This is getting to be a little bit of a longer video than I was hoping, but I think that there's a lot of value that I want to provide based on my experiences, and hopefully this value is useful and relevant to you. But to move forward, the other chart right here is the 5-minute. I also want to know what's happening on the news. I don't trade the news, but I like to see what's the reaction to specific news. Besides my pre-market preparations, I like to know, hey, look, why did this XYZ stock gap so much? I think there was Meta recently that had, no, it wasn't Meta, but there was another stock here very, very recently that had gapped up. I think it was Tesla just a couple days ago. Yeah, and I was wondering like what was the reason. And so the news tab here is really important because I can see it based on my symbol, the market, etc. Messages, this is where I set my alerts. As you can see, I've had alerts from the other trading day. Alerts are really, really helpful because there are areas where I don't want to trade, and there are areas where I want to enter the market, or there are areas where I'm interested in looking at a stock. So for example, here on Tesla, I'm looking for this break of 357. There's clearly a resistance here. 2 times it touched it. But until it gets above 357, perhaps hold, then maybe I can take it into 368. So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to having the most important chart settings, timeframes right in front of you. I don't have to look to the left. I don't have to look anywhere on my phone. I don't have to look at any other screen. I have it ready to go right here, and it helps me make quick decisions. So these alerts I set up based on the fact that I want to make certain I want to focus on certain things at a specific price points. So this tab here is dedicated for that. On the 15-minute, it's really quite simple. It's another 15-minute chart, kind of gives you like a broad overview. And I use the 15-minute quite a bit. Originally, I didn't really like it, but I found that on Webull, the first 15-minute chart appears as 9:45. So this is the first 15-minute chart, but it gives me an idea. Still, I'm not sure why it moves at 9:45, but the fact is it was really confusing for me originally. And now that I've come to realize, okay, this time frame as well as others just have their increments ahead, I just have to minus it, and then I can get an idea, okay, this is the first candle, this is the second candle, where do I expect this candle to close at the end of 15 minutes, 5 minutes, etc. So the 15 minutes really, really straightforward. And as you can see on my charts, this one's a little bit busy, but when I'm doing my prep, it's basically trend lines or support and resistance lines, areas where I want to go long, where I want to go short, alerts. Only a few of these have the price points, as you can see. The other ones don't. So I'd have to go to the daily here or the 2-minute. It's specifically designed that way so that I don't have too much clutter. Again, trading platforms that others that I followed for many years, they have set up in ways that help them. And I think that everybody has their specific preferences. My preferences try to keep it as clean as possible. And so even having the price is not available, or these open close levels here, open, high, low, close. It's only available on the daily and the 2-minute, and even on this one, it's available. But beyond that, it's basically quiet because I just don't need it there. And then the last time frame, as you can see here, is the 1 hour. But this one really is interesting because I find that the 1 hour is probably my second favorite higher time frame after the daily, simply because I'm trading the first hour of the market open based on the way the candle opens at the price that it's opening at. Like, I can have a hypothesis that is relatively high probability that, okay, we have this sort of area, this void, and if we open up here, it's kind of breaking above the pre-market high. This is a red candle, so I'm a little bit hesitant on it, but if it starts to travel and make its way towards like the top third of this red candle, I'm gonna go to the conclusion that my hypothesis is that it's likely to go higher. So for that reason, I would take a long trade or find a long entry. And of course, this was just the other day here on September 8th, and I was watching the market, and it was really quite overlappy and quite confusing until it started to break out and then pulled back. But overall, the 1 hour I find is really helpful up to the daily. And then I also have the weekly chart here. I've got the ATR there, and I've got the monthly, no, sorry, let me correct myself. I've got the daily chart here again. I don't use this as much. And then I got the weekly chart. This daily chart I use with the ATR because I've learned over the last year or so that the ATR is actually really helpful, the average true range. I also have it on my daily chart here on the left, but this helps me also create a bias for what the day is expected to be. And if a stock is, has an ATR of $10 on the day in the current time, and it's reaching $7, like, is it going to go to the remaining 3, or is it going to go back to, the 0 point and come back negative? So I use the ATR really quite actively, and that's why I have it on this chart as well. Besides Webull, I do have IBKR, and then I can talk a little bit about my sort of notes here, which are helpful. So that's my Webull setup or trading setup. It's pretty much identical on every platform that I've used. If I'm currently using a platform like Webull, or if I've used Thinkorswim, or if I've used Moomoo, for example, they all are set up pretty much the same. I think on Moomoo, for some reason, I don't see 2-minute charts, so instead I would do 1 minute. I have no choice really there. But all of my platforms look exactly the same, and they're all designed to be mobile friendly. So in case I'm traveling, in case I'm in a hotel, in case I'm visiting family, in case I'm just out and about, and just I'm ready for the market, I have an opportunity to be by myself and stay focused, and I don't need to be on a chat or anything like that, then I'm capable of doing it, and I'm comfortable that way. The main thing is comfort levels. Okay, so with Webull here, my Webull setup was quite cumbersome, and over the years I've refined it again and again every week. I think I'm happy with everything, including Webull and IBKR, Interactive Brokers, but this is the way that I have it set up. I just have my portfolio tab, and I have my execution tab. It's not the largest screen, but it's just enough to get the right pieces of information. So, you have your portfolio. You can set this up however you want. I have the unrealized as a percentage as well. I used to use that, but not anymore. I have an execution sort of panel here in case something goes down. I have one right here as well, which I mainly use just to see price of the contracts because I trade options. And over here is basically where I can see the trade summary, basically all the trades that I've taken, the P&Ls, and then the orders in case there were some order issues. And then this tab right here is really where I execute. I have all my buttons set up. I know basically the different ways that I can set up. I can do a market order, I can buy it at the bid, sell it at the ask, buy it at the ask, sell at the bid. I have a center button if I'm using the ladder, which I can show you in a minute. Everything here is set up in a very specific way so that I have full control over entering and exiting a position without at all even touching the ladder. Because the ladder I find is really helpful, but if I have this ladder open, for some reason, when the market is open and the stock is going up or it's consolidating and your premiums are going down, it was just really unusual for me to see that, and I affected my trading. I was more focused on the P&Ls, which would appear here. And so I actually use the ladder only, and this is probably the most important part of my trading, by setting an automatic stop loss at a specific premium price. In a future video, or if the video has already been posted on my page, it'll be like something about how I exit trades really easily or something like that. I'll try to link it in this video if I have the opportunity, but that has been the single greatest feature or implementation into my trading that I've ever done. You know, and the ladder is really helpful because as soon as I enter with my position, I'm able to know what the premium stop loss it will be based on a specific point that I have back tested over you know, a couple of years of trading, and understanding what level do I need to place on every single trade across the board on average, a point at which the price of the premium dictates also where the stock is going to be and if it's invalidated for me, and it automatically gets me out. I don't have to think about it. And I prefer that because I have had issues with hesitation. And honestly, if you've been trading for a year, if you've been trading for a couple of years, you know, the number one problem is, and the number one solution is, you know, problem is people, you know, hold their trades too long. And the number one solution is to exit your losers exactly where you're supposed to exit. And that number needs to be clear to you. That level needs to be clear to you. And you can't deviate from that, because when you deviate from your plan, you're basically putting your capital at risk, and your number one goal is to preserve capital. So I feel like I'm going on a lot of tangents here, but there's a lot that I want to say about it. But essentially, when it comes to this specific video, I use this now, the ladder, or any ladder on any platform, just to implement a stop loss, because literally like 2 clicks. You just roll up the ladder, you know the price, you hit the stop button, and it's a stop market order. So if it ever reaches there, if the ask reaches there, it's going to take me out automatically. So that's the ladder when it comes to this setup. This is all carefully placed here because I just need to know the bid and ask. I'd like to know the spreads so that if I'm taking a position, you know, recently I've been trading a few different stocks when it comes to options of those stocks. And I find ARM, for example, it's just really spready. It's like sometimes it could be 30 to 50 cent spreads. And when that happens, or if that happens, I'm nowhere interested. And if I do need to take a trade, like I'm watching this level here, I might look at towards the upside. I'll wait for a pullback and then automatically hit the bid so I can get an automatic profitable trade within seconds just by hitting the bid and getting eventually filled. And if I don't get filled, I don't take that trade. And lastly, I have my option contracts here. I find that I would be happy with a little bit more space, but I'm also completely okay with it because I only need to see about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 5 different levels. Sometimes I go up when it's a put contract or if it's a call. But this really, really is helpful because I can just see the bid ask, I see the delta, and the delta is what I've used over the years. I now don't really look at it much, but as long as I'm trading something out of the money, close to at the money, that's typically what I do. And I'm able to just basically click it, you know, and basically I have the contract available for me. There's no real issues here. It loads up here, loads up here, loads up here, and basically I can execute and watch the premiums right where the price action is as well. So that's the options chain. And then lastly, where my orders are, again, the same thing as what's on my portfolio tab. And overall, basically, it's a really simple setup, but it's very functional. It's designed to accommodate my preferences, and that's one of the key things here. If you have a lot of noise on your charts, if you have a lot of noise, you know, things are not placed in their proper areas, I think personally for me, that would be a problem. And so for that reason, I prefer a very straightforward setup. Even where the watch list is set is specific to the point where I can move the mouse fairly quickly. And again, this is designed to work on any screen. And for those of you who might be asking or maybe wondering if I share these layouts, I might consider that in the future, but I find that right now it's something you can just copy. I don't really think there's a necessity for sharing any specific template files, but I might change my mind in the future. But in the moment, I mean, you know, set it up the way that you need it. Let me know if you have any questions about, how the buttons have been, why I have specific buttons, and I'm happy to help in that area. But overall, I think that this setup is super simple, super effective. It's all purpose driven. It helps me trade effectively. I haven't even gone over my other screen here, which has a variety of features beyond this that help me see the big picture, help me see the entire market, all the different stocks that I have on my favorites list for the day, and all the different time frames that are covered here, but in a larger screen, because sometimes you want to see the big picture, and I don't think there's a way for me to be able to zoom out besides having to unlock and remove these, and to be honest, that's a little bit of a headache. So this is the way that I've set up my platform when it comes to Webull and Interactive Brokers. And lastly here, I think it's super important that besides your pre-market plan, what you're planning to risk on each trade should be consistent. Are you going to put certain capital towards certain setups? Are you going to exit based on specific signals of the chart, like basic price levels, or are you going to exit based on emotion? I mean, I would recommend having a clear plan. Sometimes emotions are not clear when you're first starting out as trading. You want to be able to gain a lot of experience and get a lot of screen time. I watch all of my trading videos as best as I can. I record all of them so that I can see what I'm doing on good days, especially bad days. I think most people look at just their good trades, but I love to focus on my bad trades because the winning trades come. It's the bad ones that really are keeping you from succeeding, and that's what I have found that has really helped my trading. So overall, this setup here is really clean. At the same time, I do have it right here where I have this 2-minute chart on QQQ. That's simply there just as a backup in case for some reason I don't want to view it on the left screen, even though I have it there. But I used to have the daily and the 2-minute chart of the QQQ or SPY just to see what the market's doing. Now I feel like it's redundant, and especially because I prioritize having the daily, and then I can see the charts here for QQQ, SPY, and all the other tickers. And what I was saying earlier was, besides having your pre-market plan, having a journal, ensuring that you write everything down. I mean, these are some of my notes here. I think that this is probably, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, having a notebook next to you, creating a pre-market routine, doing some breathing exercises, getting yourself in the zone is going to be just that much better for you to be able to execute. I think that there's traders out there that use platforms, they use their phones, they use their computers, they use their desktops, whatever it is that works for you. Do whatever you can if you're taking this seriously to try to become the best version of yourself as a trader. And that's going to take time. You're going to have hunger, that desire to actually wanting to improve. You're going to have to face the problems that you're experiencing and the issues that you're causing in your trading. You're going to have to figure out how to read charts or do an analysis on how you trade and what works for you. But that pre-market routine, having a journal here on my right side is absolutely foundational. And recently I started to place this on a sort of sticky note, just to sort of see, okay, what am I watching long for the day? What am I watching short today? What's my market bias? Am I long on the week, long on the day? This should actually be now changed to 25 cents. This is the premium stop loss that I'm looking at. If it's an at the money contract, what kind of dollar stop loss on the underlining I'm looking at. If it's out of money, I can go for a $2 stop. And this is all connected to, understanding all of my recordings, understanding all my trading, where I exited, where I entered, the winning trades, the losing trades, all of that sort of back testing as they call. This is the kind of back testing that I do. I actually just watch the raw footage and really get honed in on every single outcome that I couldn't pay attention to while I was trading, that I could have addressed or paid attention to, and perhaps it would have resulted in a different outcome on the trade for me, perhaps on an execution basis, when I entered, why I didn't take the trade, for example. I also know exactly sort of the areas where I'm going to set my stop loss. This is the stop loss that I would implement here on this ladder. And I also know where I'm able to take profits. So it's about a 30 cent to 25 cent difference. So if I lose about 25 cents, not including slippage and commissions. And if I win, what's the bare minimum that I'm looking to accept? So about 30 cents profit to scale out. So I have all this set up for me in front of me. It's designed for me to be able to feel comfortable and confident in the trading. I love Webull. I think that the finance industry, the financial technology industry, the trading industry, I think it's just going to get hopefully better. There's might be more options available, but right now, in my opinion, next to Thinkorswim, because I don't know if you know, but Interactive Brokers has the advanced charts from TradingView, but the implementation is not very good. And the old school charts there, I mean, I do use them only just to track the premiums on the options to see it as a chart, but they're really not good. So the Webull platform is second to none when it comes to customizability. And if you open your chart, you may notice that your colors are different even on the dark mode. I've customized it a little bit more. I won't be able to go over that in this video because I have to recap what I actually did. But I changed the colors to get really close to a Thinkorswim sort of vibe, remove the grids and all that stuff. But if you are comfortable with the platform, I'm sure you can hopefully figure it out. But this is my execution screen. One of two screens, the other one is a reference screen that I use every single day when I'm trading in the US stock market, trading options. I day trade, I use short time frames, I use patterns. You can see the patterns right here that I'm basically following. This represents confluence, whole numbers, etc. And it really helps me. I think the overall majority of traders out there that are struggling, they need to figure this out. You need to figure out how your platform impacts your trading. Psychology is a part of comfort level, and your comfort level should be focused in on not just with how you trade, if you hold your winners, if you cut your losers, but how you're approaching the technology. And everyone can have the same platform, but their uses are going to be so unique, and some are going to be excellent at using the platform, and some are going to be not so good. For example, just to say here, I've traded on my phone. I'm not very good at it, so I don't do it. I know there's a ladder and all this stuff available from the Interactive Brokers app. I know that you can see the premium price, but I'm not good. I've lost more trades on it, and I realized that was a problem. I can't do this on the go. So my plan is that if I'm trading, I'm going to have that 1.5 hours to myself. No one's going to bother me unless this, of course, is an emergency. But I need minimum 2 screens. Maybe 1 screen I can get away with, and I can use the window feature here, right? You can switch screens on a Mac, but that's what I need. So you have to figure that out for yourself. So this is how I basically trade on the trading platforms Webull and Interactive Brokers. I hope that you gained value from this video. In future videos, I can go over some more details and talk a little bit about trading. I posted, live trading recaps and all that such back in the day, but this time I think people just want to learn platforms, learn the technology, learn how to trade, and it's really what you do outside the trading hours that really can define and change and improve your trading. So I hope you have a great week ahead, and if you're trading this week, make sure you manage your risk well and take your stop loss. Get comfortable with your platform. Be there an hour advance before the market open. Get comfortable with everything. Get in the zone. Don't just show up right at market open and think that you're going to make money. You could make money, but it's not about could. You have to be consistent. You want to be making money on a weekly basis. It may not happen every day, but at least on a weekly basis, and at least on a bi-weekly basis, monthly basis. So have your platforms ready. Webull, Interactive Brokers, I'm not getting paid by them whatsoever. Might do some affiliate thing in the future, but it requires consistent posting. And but overall, I've loved their platforms. They're good. They're good at some things, not at everything. But this is how I do it. In another video, I might go over another screen and talk a little bit about the whole aspect of trading and how I approach it. So thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.